The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
Well, I've been a happy client of Dan White's for many, many, many years, and he has a lot of great people working with him as well. Andrew Wood is one of them. He works in the Middletown office on the phone right now. And by the way, all of these people, they really are professional, and they specialize in retirement income for financial planning. You can always give them a call at 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820. And Andrew's got the tip of the day right after the news at 1:30 on Wednesday. Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Doing great, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had. So we talk a lot about Social Security and retirement and such like that. And I know that you and I were talking about this, just a little while ago about, well, what are they going to do if indeed Social Security is going to tap out in, 2035 or something like that? They got to raise the age, tax more people, something like that. What are you learning about this?
Yeah, so we're continuing to hear changes, and I think that's really important, especially for those that are a little bit earlier in the process of retirement. There are a couple pieces of legislation, a number of different pieces of legislation that are on the table to try to make Social Security a little bit more solvent. But people need to realize that for most people, especially if you don't have a pension, that Social Security is more than likely going to be your largest source of income in retirement. So it's really important to make sure you're getting that decision and making the proper decisions for you there. But it's also important to understand what changes could be happening down the road. Now, there's different ways that you could look at making the system, whether more solvent. I believe the number is like 2033 is when they might have to reduce benefits. So, our government's looking at different ways to making the system more solvent. So a couple things. We've talked about this in the past. They're looking at changing the payroll tax for Social Security, right? So currently you're capped at, it's about $160,000. If you make over $160,000, you stop paying into the system. They're looking at increasing that or maybe even getting rid of that cap on it. And then there's also discussions about kind of pausing that cap, and then if you make over $400,000, then you got to start paying taxes on that. But that's kind of a way to increase more tax revenue. But one of the things that I just recently saw in an article is that they've been talking about increasing full retirement age, and they've done this already in the past. For a lot of retirees that are out there that are in their 80s or older than that, full retirement age was typically 65. Then if you were born between I believe it was 1953 and 1960, it's 66, or maybe 66 in a few months. And if you were born after 1960, full retirement age, which is when you're entitled to your full benefit, is 67. All right. So what they're talking about is potentially, all right, if you're if you turn 62 after, I believe it's 2033. They're looking at potentially increasing that full retirement age to 69. So they've already bumped that back from 65 to 66 to 66 in a few months to 67. They could potentially be bumping that up to 69.
I have this vision of people who are against this paying people to come here from France, so they would protest and burn cars in the streets for them. Because you're not hearing a lot of people here in this country really protesting or getting angry. I guess what people are kind of inured to this. We're expecting it or something like that. We are kind of, because like you said, this sort of thing has happened in the past. They want to change pension and retirement ages in France and such, and they burned the cities to the ground almost. So I'm just wondering, you're very, very engaged and involved in all of this. Are you hearing of any people who are very, very angry about this, or any protest, or does it look like everyone's just kind of going along saying, "Oh, we got to do something"?
Well, we're not there yet. I mean, this is saying by 2033, so we got 10 years. But yeah, I don't think most people are going to be very open to it, and the concern is, you're pushing back full retirement age, and they reduce it for every month that you take early. So if you take it at 62, it's going to be an even larger reduction. And I think that's the big concern. I mean, do they want us to work until we're dead? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just really hard to figure out, what the ultimate goal here is. Obviously, they need to make the program solvent, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be a multi-pronged approach. They're going to have to do a number of different things. We'll see what happens. I'm just about 40, so for me, I've realized that full retirement age is probably going to get pushed back. If you're over 50, then I think 52 at least. I think you should be pretty comfortable with where the system's at. Again, I think they're going to make changes to make it more solvent, but. Yeah. If you're 55 or older, I don't think you should see too drastic of changes.
I'm surprised they haven't changed the taxable base. 2023, after your first $160,200, I just looked it up. They don't tax you for Social Security anymore. And I know in fact, I remember Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders coming out and saying, if you're going to have a program like this, you ought to just tax everybody. And if you are going to have like this social welfare program like this, shouldn't you be taxing everybody? Or is that really unfair to people who are making like, say, $1 million a year, because they'll never get that percentage back when they retire? And I don't see this as being I don't see this program as being any sort of measure of fairness anyway.
Well, here's the big issue that I see. So if you're capped, that means there's technically a cap on the maximum amount that you can receive from Social Security.
Okay.
So the difficult part is, all right, so if we eliminate that cap, then are we still going to have a cap for the maximum amount that you can receive from Social Security? You know what I mean? It's like it's tough.
No, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And we get a little feedback there on the phone. I don't know. Do we do something different with the phone over here? I don't know. The answer is yes, and it goes back to the old definition of socialism, wherein everybody shares the pain. So capitalism has an unfair sharing of wealth due to your achievement, your merit, and in socialism, everybody shares equally in the pain. So the answer is yes. You put in a lot more money. You don't get to take the money out, and too bad, because that's socialism. What's wrong with that there?
Right.
What?
Yeah, it's hopefully not a route that we're going to go, but
Andrew, it's like here in Delaware we now have the Family Medical Leave Act, okay? And as the sponsoring senator told me here in the studio, it polls very well. Okay, that's nice. Now, in the real world, what's going to happen is you're going to have people making $40,000 a year paying into this thing. Maybe it'll start out with the cost of a week's worth of groceries. And then folks who live a couple of miles from them making $300,000 a year are going to be able to pull out a portion of that for 12 weeks. And the person making $40,000 a year doesn't use it, maybe, and they never get that money back. That's socialism. Everybody shares the pain, okay? So I look at Social Security much the same way. If indeed it was going to be fair and equitable, then the entire country would have had what we know as the Galveston Plan. And the Galveston Plan, you put your own money into your own account, and you get that back when you retire. In fact, people who are on that plan, which was established at the same time as Social Security, but they were allowed to do that until the federal government says, wait, stop, we can't do that because we want the money. Those people are making a lot more money in retirement than those folks who are on Social Security. So if it was really all about that and not government control, then we would all have what's known as the Galveston Plan. That's just my opinion on that, just seeing how it's worked.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's really hard to figure out what's going to be the best way for Social Security. Obviously, that's something that's been in talks for decades. They've realized that there is a problem. They're going to need to make it more solvent. Again, it's about coming together and trying to make sure we're getting the best plan that makes the most sense for everybody. And unfortunately, they don't necessarily do a great job of doing that. So
and you guys, you're all professionals there at Dan White and Associates. And when you plan for retirement, I'm going to presume what you do is you're reasonable, logical. You take the worst case scenario and say, listen, we have to plan for the worst case scenario when you work with folks.
Yeah, so a lot of that has to do with income planning, right? So what that ultimately means is you got to make sure that worst case scenario, you have an income floor that you're not going to have any less. And I think that's really important, when providing stability and more security or certainty when it comes to retirement. So again, you got to make sure bills, incomes, and expenses are covered. And then after that, obviously you can incorporate, some different things as well. But it's about making sure that, again, your income is secure and you have that certainty, to know that you're going to be okay, right, regardless of what does happen.
And that's what we want to know. We just want to know everything's okay. Everything in the world, everything in our lives is about expectations. And I know you guys always work to meet and exceed that. Sunday morning, Dan White on the money, 7 o'clock on Sundays, right?
That is correct. I don't have the topic today.
That's fine. That's why I left it very wide open like that, yeah.
That's right. But, every Sunday morning, Dan's on air. And, again, we call in every Wednesday for the tip of the day. So thanks for having me, Rick.
101.7 FM, 1150 AM, and streaming live on the new WDEL app. Go ahead and download the new WDEL app on iTunes and then Google Play. All right. Have a great weekend, and thank you very much for your time. Andrew Wood at Dan White & Associates. Take care, buddy.
Go Phils.
Yeah, go Phils. Yes. Everybody at Dan White & Associates, they're always signing up at as Go Phils now.